I've done a lot of cool interviews over the years. This one is near the top. It's definitely one of the funniest. Next up, the godfather of alternative rock tells us the inside story of his band's biggest hit, how it was inspired by shoplifting. He also shares his distaste for MTV and much, much more. It's coming up next on Professor of Rock, is brought to you by Zenni Eyewear. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. We invite you to be a part of this community, your community, by subscribing below. Subscribe right now to be a part of celebrating the best of the best videos, interviews, the history of rock. You can also become a part of our exclusive club, become a curator or an honorary producer by supporting our mission on Patreon. You also unlock more content. The link for that is below. We'd love to have you. Now, one of my favorite interviews ever out of the 500, almost 600 that I've done is Perry Farrell of Jane's Addiction, no doubt about it. It's one of those entertaining, deep-thinking, hilarious artists in all of music. And he's been called the godfather of alternative rock for good reason. He was actually born Peretz Baronstecher in New York, Queens, New York. He grew up there before moving to LA to chase his rock and roll dreams. He was inspired by the Beatles, the Stones, James Brown, Zeppelin, later Iggy Pop, Bowie, and Lou Reed. And he somehow incorporated all of their influences into his persona. Now, Perry became the frontman for the post-punk band PSI Com. He was very much a part of the LA scene, and he became a part of a close-knit community of musicians there. Bands like X and Red Hot Chili Peppers, there was Fishbone and Minutemen, so many more. When PSI Com broke up in 1985, Perry started jamming with bassist Eric Avery, who he'd met through mutual friends. The two became the first foundational parts of what would become Jane's Addiction. Now, around that time, Peretz changed his name to Perry Farrell. It was a play on the words peripheral. A short time later, Dave Navarro joined the band, of course, and he was recommended to Perry by Jane's drummer Stephen Perkins. Navarro and Perkins were friends as children. Jane's then built a cult following in the LA music scene as an alternative, if you will, to the metal scene that was prevalent on the Sunset Strip at that time. They were like the yin to Guns N' Roses' yang, as a friendly rivalry developed between the two very different bands, very different crowds, as Perry explained to me in the interview that I did, and I'll share that down the road. But Jane's Addiction, they were unlike any band on the scene. They had high-octane, super dynamic live shows in the small LA rock clubs that they played in, 85 and 86. Now, after releasing their highly acclaimed self-titled debut album, live album, they released that through indie label XXX Records, I believe. That began a bidding war between the major labels. Warner Brothers won out on that, and in 1988, they released classic record, Nothing Shocking, with its evocative album cover that was created by Perry himself. It featured many unique songs, including Jane Says, one of my favorites of all time. It was about Perry's friend Jane, who is the inspiration for the actual band name. Jane says, I'm done with Sergio. This put Jane's on the radar as they kicked the door of modern popular music down. They set the bar for what rock would be over the next few years. Ritual De Lo Habitual came next, going into the 90s. It was, of course, a precursor to the grunge and alternative movement that would become a tsunami of change after the 80s. Ritual featured another controversial album cover. In fact, two versions of the packaging were created for the album. One that was at the center of controversy with artwork by Perry. It was about the song 3 Days. It included nudity. I thought it was really artistic, but anyway. Another cover, generally referred to as the clean cover, had the band name and album title in black text on a white cover. It also had some text right below it, which was the First Amendment referring to freedom of speech from the U.S. Constitution. On the back of the album, it included more text that read, Hitler's syphilis-ridden dreams almost came true. How can it happen? By taking control of the media. An entire country was led by a lunatic. We must protect our First Amendment before sick dreams become law. Nobody made fun of Hitler. Interesting quote there in 1990. But anyway, the clean cover was an alternative for the stores that would have normally refused to carry the original because of its nudity. thus becoming the culprit of the album's freedom of speech message. Anyway, Ritual carried with it just transcendent songs by the band, including two sides, side A and side B back in that time. Tracks 1 through 5 are hard rock songs that have really no relationship to one another thematically, while tracks 6 through 9 are in memory of Perry Farrell's former girlfriend, Zyla Blue, who passed away from a heroin overdose at just 19. I remembered that the cassette version of the LP had like 10 minutes of silence on side A because side B was longer. Just one of those things you remember from the Walkman days. You can hear many different influences on this classic record. And in my interview with Perry, I was able to cover a lot of them, and we'll share that down the road, including the epic composition 3 Days, which to me always felt like it had a progressive rock feel to it. Classic Girl is another epic song on the record. As well as Stop, and of course the #1 alternative hit, Been Caught Stealin', one of the great songs of that era. Also, of course, filmed an iconic music video that ruled MTV for months. Been Caught Stealin', it's like this catchy, happy-go-lucky slice of modern rock that I can still recall exactly the moment when I first heard it. It was on this mixtape that I had borrowed from an upperclassman when I was still in that discovery mode of new wave and alternative. It was amazing. I remember the songs in order. It was Been Caught Stealin' started out side 1, then it was How Soon Is Now by the Smiths, Depeche Mode, Behind the Wheel. I mean, talk about 3 knockouts to the senses, all very different. But whereas Depeche Mode and the Smiths, those songs were very dark and supremely melancholy. I'm the sun, I'm the air. Been Caught Stealin' was like this feel-good sing-along about shoplifting. Hey, you always need shoplifting songs. Perry shares the story behind this ditty, including his own experience with shoplifting, along with some secrets, really cool stuff behind the recording in this song documentary. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, before we hear from Perry, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. The glasses that I rock on a daily basis, on the daily, I love them for so many reasons. 1, I get to design my own pair, and 2, they have blue light blockers that protect my eyes from the damaging digital blue light that we all deal with on a daily basis for a fraction of the competitor's price. And you can do a virtual try-on before you order to see exactly how you look. You got to check it all out. It's at zenni.com. Here is Perry.
I got caught stealing more than once, but the first time was really when I was 5. I remember in New York, there was, we used to play stickball. So stickball, you play with a broom handle and this ball called a Pensy Pinky. They don't make them anymore. They were just a rubber ball. And you can throw them against, people play them against the school. So you make a square with a spray can. And then that's your catching zone. Yeah. Your friend takes the broom handle and he's the batter. So you throw the Pensy Pinky. So I wanted a Pensy Pinky. So I took my first try at stealing when I was 5, stealing the Pensy Pinky. And I got caught right away. That sucked. I got in trouble with my parents. They told on me. And I was always getting in trouble. I was just thinking about that the other day. I had a crime record, a minor crime record. Yeah. Then I had an adult crime record until I started, making it. And then it became fun to I became a bit of a klepto. Everywhere I would go, I just had to steal something. And I went out on the road. I started stealing from gift stores. And just buying little weird things. Like when you're a punk rock kid, you can dress and get weird things. Like I remember one time they arrested me as I stole. When you go on airplanes and the ladies try to show you how to buckle up your seat. Yeah. So I thought that seatbelt would make a cool belt, So I stole the thing, and then I got arrested at the airport for stealing a practice seatbelt. I was going to wear that, on stage.
Yeah. I love the line, when you want something and you don't want to pay for it.
When I want something, man, I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's just so funny, man. It's like these guys,
Well,
man.
and the other thing about it is, clothing. When you don't have money when you're first starting up. I don't know about you, but I was a big thrift store.
Yeah.
I would buy only at thrift stores.
Yeah.
And so half the stuff is kind of like stuffed under and down in your pants, or you're wearing it and they don't know, you rip the tag off.
The first time I ever heard Jane's Addiction, I heard that song and it just punched me in the face. It was like that moment for me where it separated my parents' music or hearing the music on the radio to what my music was. The dogs, everything. Tell me really quick how that came together.
At the time I went to a dog pound, I felt it would be great to rescue a dog. There was a dog that just fell in love with me the second she saw me, and we became inseparable. So inseparable that I had to take her to recordings with me because she would just sit there and go, oh, unless she was hanging around with me. She had to be by me, otherwise she'd freak out. So I said, look, let her sit in the booth with me. She'll be okay. And dogs have very sensitive hearing. As soon as they started playing the song on my headphones, she picked up on it and she started going, oh, and I started laughing. But somehow I let it roll. And when I came in, she kind of stopped. So she was there for the whole recording. But it was kind of cool because it reminded me of like a dog chasing after a burglar. It was completely by accident.
And she did it in time, really.
Yeah, that was really cool. You're right. She had this kind of syncopated rhythm that worked out so well that we kept it.
And of course won the MTV Music Award. But
yep.
And the winner is Jane's Addiction.
Hi.
Well, Oscar Wilde said that a true genius contradicts himself. Let's hope that's the case here.
I didn't even go to it. I didn't care about MTV.
Yeah.
I still don't care about MTV. I have to change my opinion.
But it's such an iconic video. The old people doing
the dance in the end. Yeah. So the idea of it was everybody, we found this grocery store that would allow us to film right by our house. And so everybody had to do a Soul Train dance line. So a Soul Train dance line, but down the aisles, down the food aisles. Even I got in there and did my Soul Train, boogaloo and everything. And then because I didn't like MTV, I was so anti-pop in those days. Like the last thing in the world I wanted from my group was to be like a pop sensation.
And they have a #1 hit.
That might be cool, but I didn't want to be a pop star. I wanted to be a rock musician.
Yeah.
So I didn't want people knowing. I didn't even want people knowing what I looked like. I was so anti that I went overboard. So I put a stocking over. I had a good idea. I said, I'll put a stocking over my face so no one will recognize me. They won't even know what I look like. And that's why you see the stocking. I'm doing that with the stocking.
Yeah.
That was so that I could kind of walk around and not feel like, a pop jerk off.
Well, Arcade Fire, did you ever hear their cover of it?
No.
It's awesome.
Oh,
man.
really? They do one?
They do it live all the time, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'll
so
have to send
cool.
it to you, man.
And you know who else does it is Fish.
Oh, yeah.
Fish once did the entire album of Nothing Shocking.
It's been used in so many movies and also Grand Theft Auto and the video games. But
Oh, and
Ju-
also it's
Yeah.
used by the Dodgers when they get.
Oh, I know, and when he
they
steals
call
a base.
stealing, yeah,
Probably love that.
that I do love. I think they use it in Pittsburgh too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the National.
I heard it at a
baseball.
Yankees game once, man.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
I think that
Because I went to Yankee Stadium and I remember Derek Jeter stole second. And
they
played
did it?
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's become a staple.
it
around-
has.
There you go.
You never
That's
knew,
what I'm
man.
saying. Like if you can get your music to be associated with something as grand as baseball,
Oh, yeah.
or a mountain, or the sky, or the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, if you can get one song that the
Yeah.
world remembers,
Oh,
then
yeah.
I think you've done a great job.
It's a bad
Hey, thanks for watching. We have more stories from the Perry Farrell interview, including the story of the song Pets when he was at Porno for Pyros. That's going to be on our Patreon page. Click on the link below to be a part of that. Leave us a comment about this song and Perry and Jane's addiction below. What are your memories of it? To hear the song, click on our playlist below. And to get Ritual De Lo Habitual on vinyl or the limited edition box set, click on our Amazon links below. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel so you never miss out on our daily content, always rocking the history of the greatest era ever. Check out the Zenny link and help us keep the music alive. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe.